Happy Saturday, everyone. So, let's see, what was my low for yesterday? I guess my low was, due to impending weather, I had to leave my folks' place earlier than, well, I probably would have left early, but a little earlier than even I would have liked. I mean, here's the thing, like, all day yesterday, actually, let me get my high and my active kindness. My high is, guys, I did get to spend time with family. Got my mom's broccoli and Swiss cheese soup. That was very good. And my active kindness was I helped clear the table after dinner. And I also helped my mom make a salad for neighbors. So she was, my neighbor, one of my neighbors from back from where my folks live is undergoing some health issues, and my mom decided to make them a roast chicken dinner with potatoes and a salad. And I helped bring some of the materials for the salad. Okay, it was really an apple, but still, I helped make the salad. So, okay, yesterday, like, there was talks all day about, oh, we're gonna get like crazy weather, we're gonna get like really bad weather coming, and literally nothing was happening until like, it was supposed to start at 3, nothing happened until like 5:30, and it was like 40 degrees at the time, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna be more rain than snow, no big deal. I mean, yeah, it's gonna get colder, but I don't think it's gonna be that big of a problem. So, I'm about to leave my folks' place, and obviously it's pitch black when I'm about to leave. But you can obviously tell when there's snow on the ground because you can obviously snow at nighttime because it's that bright. And there's like white everywhere. Like, I was legit, like, I had to drive like 10 miles an hour slower than I would have preferred. Just because, well, partly because there was someone in front of me going on Route 352. That's the route I usually used to take home. But it got crazy. There was one time though, like this one guy who was like in front of me, a different guy. Like they were going to turn and they had plenty of time to turn, but they wanted to wait for this one slow moving truck to go by. And man, was I lucky that the car stopped when it did. It was crazy. Guys, seriously, everything's fine. Don't freak out. Okay, so now to get on to what I wanted to talk about today. Because this is actually kind of momentous. And by kind of, I mean, I can't believe I'm actually going to do this now. Since around the time of the pandemic, I have been making a series of videos called Mom Food Chronicles. You know, I've done, basically, if you don't know what mom food is, it's basically the food that you grew up with. You know, maybe, and it doesn't have to be your mom who makes it, obviously. It could be, you know, your mom, maybe your dad cooked you something, maybe you have a sibling who cooks, your aunt or uncle, grandparents. Basically, if it's made with love, and like you can look back and think, man, nothing tastes quite like that. Like, that's mom food. And over the years, I've talked about a lot of different mom foods. From my mom's broccoli and Swiss cheese soup, what I just had last night, to Thanksgiving dinner, to my aunt / godmother's spaghetti pie and Mexican surprise, to banana nut bread, chocolate chip cookies, meatloaf, spaghetti, you name it. Chances are my mom has made it, and I grew up eating it. So it should come as no surprise that, I mean, I literally just mentioned the stuff that my aunt can make, which is funny because she doesn't really cook at all. That obviously more than one member of my family can cook. And for the last several years, there is one person whose cooking I did grow up with that I really have always wanted to talk about. But there were a few things keeping me from doing it. The first was, this person was my late grandfather. Meaning if I was going to do this, I would have to make absolutely sure I was doing whatever I was talking about justice. Because that's what you're supposed to do. The other thing I had to worry about was there was one mom food that my grandfather made. I haven't talked about it in detail. In fact, I actually tried to ask you guys to see if you can help me find a name for it. That's it. Well, basically, it's a dish I didn't know the name of. I did try and describe it in detail as best I could. I even tried asking you guys for help as to what to call it, and nothing really ever came up. Well, as luck would have it, the very recipe for said dish is actually finally it was in my possession because I asked for it, but I gave it to my mother because for now she can make better use of it than I can. And I still have no idea what to call it. I bring this up today because my mom is actually going to make this very dish tomorrow. So since I am going to be having it I have had it only one time before. I've seen it only made one time before. I am going to have it tomorrow. So needless to say, I will be doing a Mom Food Chronicle on that tomorrow. I figured today, since I'm finally going to do mom food that my grandfather made, I figured I'd start with something else that my grandfather made. So welcome to Mom Food Chronicles Bobo edition. And I figured I would start with easily the thing that my grandfather had made over the years, and subsequently my mom, because she's made this too, that I have had the most. And it is known as chili con queso. Now, you're probably hearing this and you're probably thinking of so many crazy variable recipes with which to make this. Because either it sounds really complex or really simple. Personally, I like to think this preparation takes place somewhere in the middle. And before I get into what specifically it is, I should probably tell you my experience with it, outside of the fact that it is easily the thing that my grandfather had made over the years that I've had the most. Basically, I was very little, and at my grandfather's cottage at Cute Lake, we would have, big sort of happy hour, cocktail hour type party things. Not that a lot of drinking was taking place, obviously, but, my aunt jokingly called it happy hour. I mean, you could drink alcohol if you want to, I guess, but the point is there was lots of, food and hors d'oeuvres and stuff. And I saw what would be known as chili con queso right in front of me, and when you're a little kid and you see something that you're kind of on the fence about trying, like you think it looks okay, but what if it isn't, or vice versa? So you wind up trying a little bit to see if you like it, and then you wind up really liking it a lot, and you've never gone back. That's chili con queso for me. It is the first thing I had ever seen where I wasn't quite sure if I would like it. I then tried a little bit of it, and from that point on, I was hooked. I was hooked. Holy cow. I probably had chili con queso dozens, if not hundreds of times throughout the course of my life. And I never get tired of it. In fact, full disclosure, the other day I actually made myself a big batch. Oh yeah, I can make it myself. I actually made a fairly big batch of it myself. To be honest, the only reason why I still have leftovers is because I ran out of chips to dip it in. I'm not kidding. Which, let's get into what it is. See, okay, I mentioned how it's either complex or simple, and I said it was somewhere down the middle. I say this because the simplicity part comes from the fact that, straight up, it's Velveeta and Rotels. That's what it is. It is straight up Velveeta and Rotels. The more complicated part comes from what else my grandfather would add. And obviously my mom too. And my mom or my grandfather would always add a diced up onion that you cook and saute for a little bit, as well as one of those little cans of diced green chilies. So, it's literally 4 ingredients. Velveeta, Rotels, diced green chilies, and onion. Boom, you're done. Just cook it low and slow, let everything melt together, stir, you're done. Come to think of it, this really does sound like something you could have on a Friday during Lent. I'll have to try that. But yes, that is chili con queso in a nutshell. So, I know I probably made it sound kind of underwhelming, but you have to understand, this is mom food. Not everything I try is ever going to be, listen, I grew up in a family where someone knew how to cook something. I also grew up in a household where your options were either nothing and like it. So it's pretty obvious I myself will eat virtually anything. Well, some things I don't really care for. Straight up, I'm not really an olives guy. Right. So, if this first Mom Food Chronicle Bobo edition seems rather underwhelming, please understand, mom food isn't meant to be overly complicated or fancy. It's supposed to be food that was made with love. And that's exactly what chili con queso was. Although, now that I've gotten that part of the way, I suppose I can talk about the proper ways with which you eat it, because over the years, there's only 2 ways to eat chili con queso. Because, essentially, this is a queso dip. That's what it is. Now, as queso dips goes, you need a proper chip to dip it in. And pretty much the course of my entire life, only one kind of chip will do for this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Fritos Scoops. You gotta get Fritos Scoops. That's the thing. That's what makes it work. It's like the sort of creamy cheese, some of the spices you get from the green chilies, and the flavors you get from the tomato and onion, combined with that salty corn chip that you just scoop in, and it's incredible. It is the perfect combination. Like, I kind of alluded to this a while ago, but you guys, I have talked about what my full course menu of life is. If you don't know what a full course menu of life is, there was an anime and manga called Toriko. One of the key plot points was the full course menu of life, and it consisted of an hors d'oeuvre, a soup, a salad, a main course, a meat, a fish, a dessert, and a drink. After some deliberation, I had to put chili con queso as my hors d'oeuvre of choice for my full course menu of life, Mom Food edition. Yes, I already have a full course menu of life myself. I'm trying to see if I can find one, make one, that consists entirely of mom food. And chili con queso's got to be the hors d'oeuvre. It just does for me. It's simple, easy to make. It actually kind of lasts a little bit. It's a huge hit at parties. Absolutely. Although, speaking of what I do at parties, yes, I did mention the whole classic dip and scoop method that you get from a Fritos Scoops chip. However, lately what I like to do is take a handful of Frito Scoops, put it on a plate, get a spoon, and pour the chili con queso over the chips. So basically, I made nachos. And come on, who doesn't love nachos? Seriously, nachos are awesome. Especially when it's chili con queso related. So, yes. This is the first Mom Food Chronicle I've done that my Bobo, that's what we call my grandfather, we call him Bobo, made. It's the food of his I've easily had the most. I've had it dozens if not hundreds of times before, and I guarantee that for the rest of my life, I will have it dozens if not hundreds of times more. Enough said. Wow, this was fun. It's been a while since I've really been passionate about it. I mean, I'm always really passionate and very excited when I talk about Mom Food Chronicles, but the fact that I did one that my Bobo made, this feels right. And now I'm ready to talk about that other mom food tomorrow. But until then, I have a day ahead of me. Maybe spend some time with family. That's all I need. It's actually been over 3 years since my grandfather died. And while life still goes on, I swear there's something missing with him gone. If anyone ever asked me if I could spend the day with anyone dead or alive, who would it be? It'd be my grandfather, for sure. And if I could say anything to him, and yes, this is the very same grandfather who told me he was disappointed in me shortly before he died. So, as you can imagine, it's a bit of mixed emotions for me. However, if I could see him one more time, and if I could say anything to him, I would tell him that life's hard. But I'm doing okay. Wow, this is getting kind of emotional here. I hope y'all liked this video, and if you did, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. As always, I am very humbled to make this video for all of you guys watching. Enjoy for today. Hopefully you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Saturday. And remember, if you guys want to talk to me, I was going to be here to lend you. Always have your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.